who's just going to read the bracha for us.
Praise to you, Adonai, God, King of the universe, who gives the Torah of truth and the good news of salvation to his people Israel, and to all the peoples through his Son, Yeshua, the Messiah, our Lord.
Amen. All right, so, first question, which book are we in? Let's start with the easy ones. When you're done, go to crack your memory for about at least 7 months worth of teaching, and then you'll find your answer. You're in the book of Joshua, yes, Bill. I cannot take any blame or excitement because of it. Right. Remember the last little bits of excitement we went through? Took you through Paleo Hebrew and more Hebrew, and we tried to break up functions, and your homework was to do the same thing for Joshua chapter 20. So, next question, what's Joshua 20 about? People who have done your homework, keep quiet. People who haven't done their homework, start scanning. At least giving you a chance. I don't make you go sit underneath a tree and go think about your sins.
Cities of refuge.
Cities of refuge. Right, Fred, sweeties, I was the answer. Okay, so we got cities of refuge. And how many cities of refuge? 7. Cities of refuge. Only cities of refuge?
There were 3 in the beginning, and then there was
How many?
3 were built off.
3 on one side and 3 on the other.
Yeah.
Right, and what is the city of refuge for?
Innocent slaves.
So, innocent slaves. No, the slaves are the innocents. Which one is it?
Innocently slaves.
So, alright, if you accidentally kill somebody and you need to run away, why is it a good idea to run away?
Otherwise, I'll kill you.
Oh, that's nice. Why is everybody so vindictive and evil in the Bible that they want to kill
With
everybody?
an eye for an eye.
Oh, misconception, eh? If we quote that reference, we use our own court system. An eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, so therefore I'm allowed to destroy you. But Torah clearly says you're not to punish a man for death sentence if it was accidental. So you can't say a life for a life in this context. What it is doing is it's actually protecting the family, and it's also protecting the person who accidentally hurt somebody. You've got 2 faults. We never talk about this stuff because we just look at it and we go, oh no, well, the Bible is so without emotion, right? Wrong. If I'm sitting there and then their family are sad and mourn because they're like, well, did you check your axe head? Someone said you fixed it once. How do you know it was solid? How do you know it was right? How do I know that everything was secure? And unfortunately, emotion gives us such a clear line of thinking. Yes? No, not so much, exactly. When I become emotional, clarity normally leaves the room. Right? Those of you who are married or have ever been in an argument with your loved one will realize that sometimes saying exactly what you think you should say at that time was a bad idea. Why? Because you weren't thinking clearly. Number 1. Number 2, the bigger one, you're not acting in love. What is the number 1 response for when I get hurt?
I'm sorry.
No. Not also, I'm not looking for the correct answer, I'm looking for your normal response.
Hurt for hurt.
Hurt for hurt. You bring out your sword, don't worry, months bigger.
Yeah.
And remember that thing you said 6 months ago. And I've been keeping this one since 3 years, 22 days, 18 hours. That thing I said I forgive you with, and I can drop the mic and I can walk away because I knew you were wrong at that point. But we're not discussing that. You said you forgave me. You said we moved on, but clearly unforgiveness runs deep. We can laugh about it, but there's a serious aspect to this. You say you forgive, and you still hold on to things that were said. That's not forgiveness. So yeah.
Give us, people give others. That's really scary.
Yeah, exactly. So then you give God the entitlement to hold on to the things that you haven't let go of. Think about that for a second. This close to Yom Kippur, you guys should be very nervous in the way you act. You should still have it very fresh in your mind when you sat in this room and you felt that big, or tears were streaming down your face, because you have dropped the ball again. Throw in a Sukkot festival and a nice weekend away, and we can slip back into old routines like that. The purpose of Yom Kippur is to show you faults so that you can grow past it. Not to go back to them. Justification of sin is that. It's still sin. And refusing to change is still that. You're still refusing to change. And you can justify out of your socks why you think it's a good idea, or why you shouldn't appeal, or why you should run, or why you should hide, or why you... Just remember, you're not hiding from me. You're hiding from one who sees everything. Good luck. Never works out well. Always when one sins, the correct response is to run to God, not away from Him. It's the only way you're going to get made right. It's the only way you're not going to be broken. So let's bring it back. This guy accidentally kills his brother, his family member, his friend. And the family is left torn to pieces. They're mourning the loss of a family member. They're broken, they're hurting. But you're walking around free. Now, put yourself in that situation for just a second. Don't get too deep into it, though. It's unfair that we're mourning and he's eating. It's unfair that we're sitting over here mourning the loss of our brother and you're walking around. And then the justification and the little thing on your shoulder starts to talk. And then Ashmigo. As the phone starts to whisper into your ears. And he says, how can he get away with that? How is it fair that he gets away with this? You know he fixed it once before. You remember you had that argument 3 months ago. Whatever justification, whatever nonsense he wants to spew in your ear, whatever nonsense you allow to sit in your brain, he will use whatever. Because all he has to do is tempt you. It doesn't have to be true. Whether or not you believe it as true, well, that's up to you. So he gets to this brokenness and he gets you, and then all of a sudden he gets you to this place, and Scripture talks about this blood avenger. Remember, we broke that up and we said it was Ga'al Ha'adam. And the word Ga'al actually means to redeem back to the Father, to gather back to El. And now you sit in this position of actually the Father's heart is to have everybody gathered to Him. Now, how is this Redeemer translated as the blood avenger? They're given this task. Now you sit there and you think about this redemption. How is Father going to redeem this situation? Well, he starts off with accidents are going to happen, and you guys are not going to think clearly. So how am I going to make this horrible situation be okay? I'm going to set up 6 cities of refuge for that person to flee to. Is he going to get away with the fact that his axe head flew off and now he's had to see someone die because of his mistake? His life changes too. He has to run to the city and he's not allowed to leave there again. Until when? Only when the high priest dies. Absolutely. Even through the death, a high priest's life redeems families back together. Cue sound effects. Wake up call. Okay? So he gets us to this point that he spreads out these cities of refuge, 3 on one side and 3 on the other, to give it an equal spacing among these territories. And these cities of refuge have got one thing in common. What are they?
The Levitical cities.
They're all Levitical cities. So you will run to God. You will run to the people who are supposed to know Him better than anybody. And you will dwell with them until the head of them all, the Kohen HaGadol, passes. And then you may be redeemed back to your family. There's a place of safety. Now what I did was I asked you guys to have a look. There are 6 cities mentioned. It's not a coincidence that there are only 6. 6 being the number of. So how do I redeem man from innocent bloodshed? Go to the place where the salt covenant is kept. You understand? The salt covenant with the Levites. You sprinkle it out before them. Remember, for them it meant loyalty. But for us it was preservation of His word and cleansing of everything that we did wrong. That's what His word does. So I'm going to send them there. Okay, in chapter 21 talks about all the other cities that they get given. So, the way they phrase it, I'm going to read through it. And remember, I've said to you guys, words mean stuff in Hebrew specifically. He wants to relay function. It's not just about our Greek thinking of definition. If it would have stopped just at the Levitical cities of refuge, that's where you would have stopped. But their name has got something to do with what He's doing. And this is why He chose the specific territories. Remember, they were appointed by lot according to God's or His purpose. Ask yourself the question, what's the purpose? What is He trying to tell me about this thing? How is a city of refuge? Why is it called that? Why then is it being established? In which areas is it put in? So when He gives you this stuff, I want you to just, instead of, because this can be very tedious reading, okay? If you just sat down and we read it, you'd all yawn and then we move on and then we get back to the narrative. But there are hidden things in between these scriptures that are trying to get you to see something that is there. Okay, so I'm going to read it quickly and then we're going to try and break this up. Adonai said to Joshua, tell the people of Israel, select the cities of refuge about which I spoke to you through Moshe, so that anyone who kills someone by mistake and unknowingly may escape there. They will serve as refugees for you from the next of king avenger. That's that blood avenger or blood redeemer. He is to flee to one of those cities, stand at the entrance of the city gate, and state his cause to the city leaders. Where else do I stand at the entrance of anything and state why I'm here?
When they're passing judgment time.
Huh?
Because the law courts were at the gates.
Well, yeah, you would sit there at the city gates, but I'm thinking of something else. They would judge.
At the gates of the Mishkan.
You do it in the Mishkan. You would stand up over there at the Mishkan with your offering and you're saying, this is why I'm here. This is not a foreign idea to the Levites. State your case. What are you doing here? What's your purpose? Then they will bring him into the city and with them and give him a place so that he may live among them. Now think about that for a second. They give up space in their city for you. What does that mean for my food? What does that mean for my water?
It's shared.
What does that mean for me, for the person who's running to God? Think about this for a second. If this guy catches me, the blood avenger, scripture says, and remember, this was something that was spoken about in the biblical time. He has a right to kill me if he catches me. It's a very odd passage, but it's there. So death stalks me, and where does the line stop? Where God's name is. It becomes my sanctuary. It becomes a refuge. I'm literally hiding because my life is at risk. If the next of king of Egypt pursues him and they are not to hand him over to the over to the killer to him, because he struck his fellow community member unknowingly and had not hated him previously. So he will live in the city until he stands trial before the community, until the death of a Kohen Gadol who was in the office at that time. When that time comes, the killer may return to his own city and his own house, to the city in which he was living. I think the plan is, in time, the people would then let their anger abate, and then they would just be able to move on with their life. So who is God really protecting him? Everyone.
Reminds me of David wanting to kill that guy's,
Neighbor.
yeah, and his wife said, don't kill, his blood will be upon you.
Okay. Different circumstances, but yeah, okay. Okay.
It's also sort of struck me, that, of course, that while you're in the city of refuge, your own family is also going with that. So there's equal loss.
Yeah.
While their loss is permanent, your loss is semi-temporary.
Yeah.
But they still have to do without your labor, without your input, without
The whole community suffers.
Yeah.
Because in actual fact, we've just lost 2 men.
Yeah.
Everybody suffers. No one wins. Okay? So they set apart Kadesh in the Galil, in the hills of Naphtali, Shechem in the hills of Ephraim, and Kiryat Arba, that is Hebron, in the hills of Yehudah. Beyond the Yarden, east of Jericho, they selected Betzer in the desert, on the plateau, out of the tribe of Reuben, Ramot in Gilad, out of the tribe of Gad, and Golan in Bashan, out of the tribe of Manasseh. These were the cities selected for the people of Israel and for the foreigner living among them. Now, isn't that an interesting coincidence? The foreigner has to live by the same Torah.
Yeah.
Not a foreign concept at all. Okay? So that anyone who kills a person by mistake could flee there and not die by the hand of the next of king and avenger prior to standing trial before the community. So there's a point where, again, Mishpacha, we need to listen. Slaying someone physically and slaying someone's reputation, in halachic understanding, is the same thing. Well, you won't believe what that person did, and that person said, and you won't believe what type of person I see going to that church. Breaking down someone's character. Breaking down who they are. Pretending like your sin is less than theirs. Oh, at least I'm not that bad. At least I don't do that. Yeah, but you do 7 other things that that person doesn't do. Lashon Hara is rife. Do me a favor. If you're sitting in a conversation and someone who is emotional or hurting or struggling comes to you and then they want to vent, because that's 90% of how it starts. Excuse yourself. Change the subject. And if they are bent on it, there was a rabbi that used to get phone call, and people used to phone him and then say, you won't believe this, and then they said this, and then I said this, and then I said this, but Rabbi, I'm just telling you this because I need you to know. No, you're telling me because you're going to bend, and you're trying to break down a person's character, and it's only one eyewitness. That's your point of story. Any wise man will tell you, you need to investigate fully. I don't investigate fully from this point. Tell me what's in the basket. You cannot draw a conclusion. You need to meditate on it. You need to look at it from all angles. You need to interview 2 or 3 witnesses. You have to get to the point where you take emotion out of it and you look at what happened for what it is. And then gather together so you can help that person. Don't break them down. There is no point in breaking down a brother or a sister. Just because you don't like the way they did it. Anyway, this rabbi used to say, it would start, what, and he'd try and change the subject, he'd try and change that, and nothing happened, and he'd say, oh, gotta go, something's come up. And I went, what? What's more important than this? He said, Lashon Hara, and he put the front up. I will not take part in your sin. This close to Yom Kippur, you guys should all understand what that means. Be careful how you slander your brothers and your sisters. That is not done in love. That is not edifying the body. And you're doing one of two things. You're either building up the community or you're breaking it down. If I were to examine your fruit, and you would say, oh, I'm just correcting. If your correction is breaking people apart, you might be right in your understanding, but the way you're doing it is not bearing the right fruit. So I'm asking, just be patient, open up your ears, open up your eyes, and just check yourself before you open up your mouth. Leaders have to get to the place where you can just take a step back from the situation and we can go, okay, this is your side. Now let me interview the others and then I will draw a conclusion. And you, if you've brought it to leadership, give leadership the leeway to be able to do their job. I just don't understand why they didn't do anything. They didn't support me. And I say this tongue in cheek, but we've had it happen a few times, okay? Yes, because people want justification and want to pat themselves on the back in the way you see my story versus the way you see theirs. I'm not interested in your stories. I want to know what's right and how I'm going to fix it. I do not want problems, I want solutions. Okay? It's the same thing here. Breaking down someone's character is as bad as, according to the rabbis, so I throw it in there. Breaking down someone's character. Because eventually people will not associate with that person because of something that was unfounded that someone said. Okay? Right. So, my studios tell me then, hope you all have got your internet ready. Bibles ready. Yeah, no, you better get it right. You know I'm not playing. Right. We've got 6 cities of refuge. Right, and then all the way it is given is given a specific place as well. So the first city of refuge is Kadesh. And how is Kadesh described? Where is it? In the Galil. And that's where in? Naphtali. Okay, next one. Shechem. Shechem. And
The mountains of Ephraim.
okay, so I'm going to keep them nice in order when we list tribes and territories. Ephraim. Next one.
Hebron.
Kiryat Arba
Hebron.
is also known as Hebron. So I'm going to put both names here. Hebron, and that's in Judah.
Then other side you have then.
Okay?
So, Betzel.
That's there.
Yeah.
That's there.
And
That's it.
wilderness from the tribe of Reuben.
So it mentions the wilderness. Okay?
Ramon.
Hang on.
Sorry.
Wilderness. And the tribe of Reuben. Okay?
Ramoth in Gilad.
Ramoth. In
Gilad.
Gilad.
Tribe of Gad.
Golan,
Golan.
in Bashan.
Bashan. And that's where?
Nashon,
Manasseh.
Would that be a half tribe in?
Yes. Whenever you pick up Manasseh and do yourself a favor, for those of you who have got it, look in the back of your Bibles. Try and look, see if you can identify these territories. Okay? Because remember, every time you mention Manasseh, some on that side and some on the side. You'll see that in the Levitical cities. It'll say, and Manasseh, and Manasseh, and Manasseh, and you're like, but it's actually two very different areas. Okay? So, if you have a look in the back of your Bible, you should see sometimes they'll have Levitical cities. These are included in those. So we've got 6 cities of refuge. And that's nice. You all know that it makes practical sense. And we have 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, so min of meer, in between the entire territory of Israel. And everybody is happy that we have equal spacing for people to run to when they do something, when something silly happens. Right. But if God is talking about this specifically, and I like meanings and I like names, I want to find out what Kadesh means, Shechem means, Kiryat Arba. Why are these ones specifically chosen? Why does he mention Galil, but he says nothing for Shechem? Why does he say the desert, and then we talk about Bashan? And why only those territories for the cities of refuge? Mark.
You asked that the names, especially the words like that, they be put in a sentence and translated that way. I happen to have that with me.
Do me a favor. You've done your homework, did everybody else have it?
Okay.
All right. For the guys that have done your homework, something, take a little patience, have a little bit, smile, and watch everybody else squirm, because I'm going to look for answers from everybody. Okay? You have cell phones, yes? Oh, Shantish, you better latch on to someone who does. Right. I'm going to give you. Let's start with this list. Kadesh, Shechem, Kiryat Arba, Betzer, Ramot, Bala. Okay? Let's start with that, and then we'll go to that, and then we'll go to that. All right? For those of you who already started the head of my call, after 2 minutes, I'm going to ask a question, and someone better give me an answer. If it doesn't prepare, it gets terrorized terrorists. No, niet meer. Yes. Is that? All I'm going to say is you're going to learn to do your homework. Like 4 weeks ago. So prep time was up there. Some of this is supposed to be done before we discuss your rule. Depends on what everybody gives Would you like to come and fill in this portion for them? Have you got notes on that?
Actually, didn't look up the actual names of that.
Have you got that?
Chart, do you remember?
Shall pick a column on the first one. Who else did they honor? Oh, it's tough, eh?
Why are you being so mean?
You guys have your previous notes here when we looked at the tribe name? Anybody? Imports of excuse, don't worry. Only this time because you've got live TV now, you see.
Oh, not even next
It's nice
I
that
think that's no excuse there. Alright, let's start with the easy ones. What does Judah mean? Oh, here we go. Reuben? See a son. Okay, now let the hamsters turn a little bit more.
If I remember, the pushing the door, right?
Okay? Let's spoke about fortune.
You know, that's pushing the door is invited.
Yeah, if we're gonna break it up to paleo, then we're gonna have all different colors. So I'm just sticking to the normal one. But yeah, together to the dead as well as together to the way. So that's a whole other thing, which is why it's fortunate. Right? Okay, so we've got good fortune. Naphtali. Struggle or wrestling, if I remember correctly. And Ephraim, fruitful. Double fruit. Double fruit. Okay. So, does anybody have a meaning for me for Kadesh? Sanctuary or holy place. Alright, so he starts off his list saying it's a sanctuary. It comes from the same root as Kadosh. Okay? So he says it's a sanctuary for you. Does that kind of fit the bill of a city of refuge?
Yes.
Yes, Shechem. Back or shoulder?
Or rich.
Or?
Rich.
Ridge? Back, shoulder, ridge. I read an interesting commentary today about that. We were talking about taking responsibility for. Kiryat Arba, right? The settlement of 4. City of 4. We're going to get into that in a moment. Better.
Inaccessible spot.
Okay, inaccessible spot.
Inaccessible remote fortress.
Remote fortress. Direct translation, house of rock. Okay, so a fortress, a high place. Next one, Ramot,
Heights.
Exaltation.
lofty place, lofty, high, you'll see lifted up. Place, Golan, or any other translation? Captive,
Captivity or rejoicing.
captive, rejoice. Anybody else?
Passages.
Passageway. Right. Now, let me read the story again, fill in the blanks where the names are. Okay? So they set apart Kadesh in Galil in the hills of Naphtali. Tell me what the first line means.
Set up a sanctuary in the structure.
Forget in the
Okay, hold on.
Kadesh in Galil in the hills of Naphtali. If you've got a notebook, write it out and see if you can come up with a story for me. So I'm just not doing this just because he can. Okay? Nice, man. The hamsters, they start to work and go, oh, that's why we're doing it. Shechem in the hills of Ephraim. You guys getting this? There's nothing, it doesn't give you. It doesn't on purpose. Because of your back, you'll have to turn your back on, but you will be fruitful. Remember, you're leaving something. And Abba still says there will be fruit. Right? Rams. And there will be double fruit. Why? Because they will learn and they will pass, they won't commit sin, and you will not be led into destruction. It's double fruit. Kiryat Arba, that is Hebron, in the hills of Yehudah. I find it fascinating that he uses Kiryat Arba.
Considering
City
that
of
Alpha
four
was the
giants.
name of one of the enemies.
Was the father of the sons of the giants, which later was given to, just before we read a portion, it was given to a man. Yeah, it's in the territory. It was given to Caleb, because Caleb went down, and we saw this in scripture, and he went down. Why did he go to Hebron?
Because of their cave.
Because it's in the cave of Mecca. That is the territory where it is. So he took on 4 giants, took them apart, and he recaptured the place of the covenant. The covenantal promise, the patriarchs are buried there. The reason you're in this inheritance is because of them. Places mean stuff, things happen there.
And also, I mean, his name, Caleb, means dog. Have you seen those little dogs, how cheeky they are?
If you break it up, it has something to do with loyalty, faithful heart. Yeah, and that's where the doggy gets his name from. Big Lord. Right. Beyond Yarden, yeah, he became the leader of, but again, he was considered a good, yeah. He was completely separate from them, and yet he was the leader of Judah. He's great. Anyway, beyond Yarden, east of Jericho, they selected Bethsaida in the desert. On the plateau, out of the tribe of Reuben, Ramat and Gilad, in the tribe of Gad, Golan in Bashan, and the tribe of Manasseh. There will be a sanctuary which will be a circuit for my struggle. If you look at your map, you will see 6 cities that should be properly circulated. You will turn your back and you will be fruitful. In the time of fall, there will be an alliance of praise. Out of the house of the rock will become a pasture. You will see a sun. In a high or lofty place, there will be a hill of testimony or a mountain of good fortune. There will be a passage to fruit that will cause you to forget. So what are the cities of refuge about? Yeshua. You see it? You feel it? Take the time. They're not just there because they can be there. He's trying to tell you something about Him. We look at this stuff and we glance over it. I'm forcing you to do this because I want you to learn. When you come, Vince is going to ask you what that name means. I drilled that first group so much that Shawnee will do it just on the off chance I'm going to ask.
That's true.
Yeah, you know. I literally made him sit there and do it in front of me. I'm going to make you sit here and do it in front of me. If you take 3 weeks to get through 1 chapter, it's not because I'm not prepared, it's because you're not. Amen today. It took me 3 hours to do the next chapter. You want to play that game with me? You're missing out. There will be a time when you will have to stand before people and they will look at this and they say, I just read this and I don't understand it. What's it about? You will then be able to draw on what I'm instilling in you to be able to go and dig. Take a big shovel. There's lots for you to learn. It's not just there for nothing. I was trying to show you something. You with me? All right. We've got time. Yeah, fine. It's nothing. Right. Go to Joshua 21. Guess what, John? We're excited for next week. Then the leaders of the ancestral clans of the Leviim approached Eleazar the Kohen, Yehoshua the son of Nun, and the leaders of the ancestral clans of the tribes of the people of Israel. It was at Shiloh in the land of Canaan that they spoke to them, and they said, let's stop. Frame it for me. I just read you a whole bunch of words. Did any of you listen to the order of things that were played out? The Leviim, the people of my heart, went to God is my help. Kohen in Paleo means to allow to reveal the heir. Yehoshua, God will save, the son of Nun. Nun being the letter Nun is a symbol of life, the very seed. And the leaders of the ancestral clans of the tribes of the people of Israel. It was at Shiloh. What's at Shiloh? Is it there? Was it at Gilgal? When did they move it up? Questions I'm asking. They said to them, Adonai ordered through Moshe that we have been given cities to live in with the surrounding open land for our livestock. So out of their inheritance, the people of Israel gave the Leviim the following cities with the surrounding open land. Now remember, we sat down and you guys said, okay, but the Levites don't get the inheritance. Because
Father's inheritance.
father's the inheritance. Then why are they getting cities with open land?
To provide for the people that are going to come live in it.
And it was also to provide for themselves. Remember, they get given a tract of land just around their cities, but it's not enough to sustain the entire group of them. Okay? So you get a city, and if I remember correctly, you check, there is a mile circle around them, basically 1.6 k's in direction just with that city. Right? And that's what they're using to farm with and just to help them, because when you get called up, where do you eat? At the temple. Remember, the part of the sacrificial system is you get to eat what's being offered.
Yes.
That's the coolest part of the job. You get to eat breakfast for like a whole 2 weeks you're there. That's it. Mazal tov. You get to help people deal with sin and you get fed. That was one of the biggest things about going to temple is you ate meat. Before, you don't really. Now let's see how appetizing you are. Good South Africans. What is the main meat you eat as you would follow Yeshua? White bulldog. It's not for a white bulldog.
Because it's the shoulder. Because
No. No. Try again. Something is dried with salt, but it's not beef.
The bull,
I said you're walking around with Yeshua. Where are you going to cut a lamb?
the fish.
Fish. Fish jerky. That's your protein source. Anybody all that excited now?
read a lot.
Yeah, every day. You would have fish biltong, and you would eat of the grains of the field. You don't have a territory to go and deal with and all these other things. You're a traveling disciple. When you get there, they share with what they have. But sometimes you're on the road. Sometimes you eat whatever you find. And you have a little bit of little snack pack that you might have taken from the Galileo. Guess what? They're caught fish. You don't have a freezer. You're not going to cook it 3 days later, guys. You dry it out. You hang it out. Salt it so that you can take it with you and it becomes your protein. You have dates, you have olives, you have your fruit of the land. Eating big pieces of meat only happens when you go up to temple. South African mentality. Oh, that doesn't sound very exciting anymore.
And that
Right.
fish in the sea is normally the curpa.
So, they get given this land, they get given this little bit of territory, and everybody else within the 12 tribes, they get to give a section back. Abba has allotted how many cities? Cities of refuge, Levitical cities? 48, including the 6. Okay? Why 48?
12, 24, 36.
Oh, so we have, the easiest one we have is we've got 4 times 12.
Yeah.
4 and 12. 12 tribes.
Yes.
And 4? What does number 4 represent to me? That's it. Where'd you get that from?
In Israel.
Oh, that's where they get it from.
From the Torah.
Wait, show me where 4 represents door and Torah.
That's the name.
The fourth letter of the alphabet.
Well, that's nice. What does that mean to me?
It's the Dalith.
But what else is 4 in it?
The name of
Yeah,
Yahweh.
that's the door. That's nice. Thank you.
I don't.
Then great. Yud, He, Vav, He. Who is the door? Oh, that's right. There's more. So who then is going to be taking care of the Levitical tribes through the people that have Levi, who are attached to me, or they're on my heart? I am going to be the one, through them, are going to reveal my son and what they should be doing. Are you guys following me?
Yes.
Okay? These things we've got to ask the questions. The Lord came out to the families of Kehatim. That's nice. Some translations will have Cohens. The Cohen, right? You will still find Kohen running around today. Right? When you go to a shul, they will say, you're not a member. You pull in there and they'll ask you, are you a Kohen? Are you a Levi? You're a son of Israel. And then you go down the hierarchy. That's why. It's not because, well, it depends which shul you go to. It's not because you're less. It's because there's an order of service. They call the Kohen to do the bracha first. Why? Because he's descendant of Aaron. It was his job. It was always his job. And since we don't have a temple, we do it here. If we don't have a Kohen, whose responsibility does it fall to? The Levi. So the Levi will come do a bracha. And if we don't have a Levi, we'll bring up the men of Israel. So they asked that question to find out where they fit you into the service so that Chazan knows when he calls you, you have the right to do this bracha. They understand that out of Torah there was a hierarchy according to what the priests used to do and where they ended and where the rest of the community started. They still practice it in their service today. There was an old buddy, he's probably close, I'm not playing, I think he was celebrating when I was last there, and that was a good few years ago. It was his 82nd or 86th birthday, and he was a Kohen. And they still called him up. And they said, it is your honor, sir. Come up, and he read from Torah first. He's establishing the same traditions too. Okay. So, Kehati, the descendants of Aaron, first lot, those are the sons of Aaron the Kohen, who were of the Levi'im, received by lot 13 cities from the tribes of Yehudah, Shimon, and Benjamin. Now already, if you're asking about names and meanings, they should be telling you something. What does Aaron mean? What does Kohen mean? And what is it about the praise, Shema, and son of my right hand that they're trying to tell you? Are you seeing it yet? The sons of Aaron will do what? They will praise, they will shema, and it will be the son of my right hand. The rest of the descendants of Kachat received by lot 10 cities from the families of the 12 tribes of Ephraim, Dan, and the half tribe of Manasseh. The descendants of Gershon received by lot 13 cities from the families of the tribe of Yishakar, Asher, Naphtali, and the half tribe of Manasseh in Bashan. The descendants of Merari, according to their families, received 12 cities from the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and Zebulun. The people of Israel gave by lot to the Levi'im these cities with the surrounding open land as Adonai had ordered through Moshe. Now we're going to play this exercise, or do you want me to wait for next week? More homework for next week. All right. I want you to take that first statement, and this is the first part of your homework. And you're going to break out, you see how many cities they have. It's not just a random number. Who gets what? What does the names mean and the territories they get pulled from?
Sorry, could you just say that again?
Who gets what? For how many cities? What are the names of the people that are getting these cities? And in what territories? What does the name of the territories mean? And then tell me a story.
What was the third one? Because I got who gets what is the names mean and?
How many cities? It's not just, Aaron doesn't get 13 cities for the sake of just having 13 cities. Yes, there's a practical reason. We can understand that if there were lots that needs to be dispersed well and over the 12 tribes, but why specifically 13? That's my question. Right? The next lot, the Koch, or the rest of the Kochanim, get 10 cities. Gershon, 13 cities. Merari, 12 cities. All that up to 48. Okay? And then we start with the breakdown. Where am I? Verse 9. They gave from the tribe of the descendants of Yehudah, and from the tribe of the descendants of Shimon, these cities here mentioned by name. They were for the descendants of Aaron, of the families of the Kahati, who were among the descendants of Levi. But because theirs was the first lot, they gave them Kiryat Arba. Arba was the father of Anak, that is Hebron, in the hills of Judah, with the surrounding open land. But the fields and the villages of the city they gave to Caleb, the son of Euphaniah, as his possession. Thus the descendants of Aaron of the Kohen they gave Hebron and its surrounding open land, already a city of refuge for the Kelim. Livna with its surrounding open land, Yatid with its surrounding open land, Eshmoa with the surrounding open land, Olon with the surrounding open land, Devir with the surrounding open land, Ayin with its surrounding open land. So it goes on and on and on through each group. Now, let me not just leave you with that. Let me pick your brain a little bit.
Sorry, can I ask a question quickly, please?
Sure.
Back to verse 7. The children of Merari. Where is Merari? Who is Merari?
Anybody want to help him?
Was the third son of Levi.
Third son of Levi. Right. You have Levi, the man, had 3 sons. Okay? Merari and Gershon.
Numbers 3 and 4.
Numbers 3 and 4. There we go. And each one had duties. What Abba does is he subdivides the 3 into 4 groups. 4 being a number of? Abba. Right, so now we have Aaron. Then we have the rest of the Kohanim. Then we have the Gershonim. And then we have the Merari. Right? And they're going to come in, and each one has a function. To understand the Mishkan, you need to understand who gets to go where. Right? So some of them had the responsibility of carrying the coverings. Another tribe had the responsibility of carrying the fixtures. Aaron and his sons had the responsibility of holy place and the Holy of Holies. They were to cover them. And then the other Kohanim, who are not direct descendants of Aaron, would be able to come up and carry those things. But they were never allowed to see it. For extra credit, what covering was God's favorite covering when he transported his stuff? What color was it? Blue. It was blue. It's amazing when you look at the sky and we say it's a reflection of water, right? When he separated all things and we look at it from bottom to top, it's all about God's heavenly abode. And he chooses that royalty, that color, that is only heavenly royalty, to declare his glory, so that even the things that are used for his service, that are set apart as Kadosh, that's all they see. That's for God.
You just
That's-
know Catholic Church, what color they have.
Yeah. It's not a surprising thing that he asks you to have a thread of blue in your tzitzit. Not purple, not red, not white. Well, the white was the line anyway. But that one thread that he wants you to put in your 16 is blue. You're not of the earth. Purple is normally used for royalty of the kings. Okay? And there is a play on that. But Yeshua, how do I get to purple? Which colors do I mix? Red and blue, right? So something that is of flesh and something that is of heaven mixed together becomes our king. Okay? But the beautiful thing is that normally the white in there, so it was something that was pure, something that is of earth or flesh, something that is of heaven will bring us this king. At the end of days, we will rule and reign. Amen? And those are the things that are interwoven throughout the tabernacle. That's all pointing to him, guys. Okay? So when you start looking at them, I want you to, if you really want to go into this, and I know it's time consuming, but please, take the time. If you just mention Hebron, you should ask the question, why Hebron? If that is a particular city, a city of refuge, because it's a place of where Abraham, the only piece that he owned, the cave of Machpelah, he owned in Hebron. And you can look throughout Scripture. If that's where it all started with this man's faith for the nation of Israel. And later we get this, another great man of God's faith. Caleb comes out and he goes, you all can recon into the land, me I'm going to the cave of Machpelah.
And then the third man.
And then you start, yeah, we're going to get to that third man. You know, like I said to you before, I always have this image in my head of him, you know, they're all scouting and taking big bunches of grapes and looking at the giants and all the rest of it. Caleb's like, Afra. You won't believe who's on the border. All of those years you were promised. 400 years have passed and God's kept his word. We're coming to take the land. It's an amazing thing that he comes up with only him and Joshua. And you say, Caleb, where did you get your faith from? His perception, his perspective was focused on what God had already promised, and now he's moving forward to take land. It's already been said, nothing can hold us back. The Egyptians thought they could, what happened to them? Let's move, stop yabbering and just go. And you get them into it. He becomes this leader of Judah, and he gets this land. And the third, another great little story of what happens here at Hebron is another messianic foreshadow. Who am I talking about? Shawnee Shush. Who is a foreshadow of Messiah that happened to spend quite a number of years in Hebron? Well, you guys are going to keep this up here. Thank you, man. David, it is. David. Why? Why do I say that? Because when Judah elected him as king, after King Saul was dead, he reigned in Hebron for 7 years. And then, pay attention, 7 years, he didn't go chase the kingdom, although he was entitled to it. God had anointed him. He waited 7 years until all of the rest of the tribes came to him. And they said, aren't you our kinsman? Aren't you our blood? How come you get to rule just over Judah? Shouldn't you be king over all of us? And a split nation in two became one in the hand of the beloved. Now that should be Ezekiel, should be popping up all over your brain. It was not something that was absent from thought. We have disciples within the word already. You know, when it says David will rule, it's talking about Mashiach. Right? The beloved, that's what his name means. Okay? They're going to establish it. It was already predetermined, and so we go on. That is the first part of where Aaron gets put in place, and he says, this is where I'm going to start my list. Uncle Conrad?
David purchasing the area on the Temple Mount, does that also somehow relate back to Abraham purchasing the cave of the Bethel?
He didn't exactly purchase it, did he?
Wasn't it Jeremiah?
No, Jeremiah bought a piece of land, but that was at the time of, that was in
I was
Anathoth.
speaking of David and Abraham. David purchased that area where he had to go back sacrifice.
You're talking about the threshing floor. Right.
possession field where it was, does that relate back to the Cave of the Patriarchs and that purchase of that, which was also disputed and Caleb gave in?
It's an interesting paradigm. Both were places of literally it was a field and a cave at the end of it was kind of at the end of it. So for Abraham's perspective, it wasn't about the land itself, it was more about the cave and burial, right? And then the holding claim to that with David, it was about purchasing the threshing floor. Obviously for a place where later he set up, but also the place where the Mishkan would be brought up. So, I'd have to think about that a little bit, but I mean, it's an interesting paradox.
The scripture speaks of the tabernacle of David being raised up as well.
Yeah, but remember, I think that also makes the illusion of the full intent of David when it talks about the physical lineage of David being established because of Genesis 49, the blessings of Judah, the scepter will not pass, right? And then David being a recipient of that promise which was there, and then it was so going to be on, but there was a condition to the Davidic covenant. If they will serve me, right? But we know that the scepter will never pass in Genesis 49, and he was a recipient of that because he was on it. That Yeshua himself took hold of that scepter and has established it, and now there will always be someone reigning that is part of the lineage of David. So when it talks about the full intent of David, I think the fullness of that is going to be established with Yeshua erecting or dwelling again with one, because that word, the sukkah of, when Emmanuel comes to dwell with us, the rightful heir and the descendant who's sitting of reigning or who was from David is going to re-establish that throne. So I think he's talking about that more than anything else.
Are you saying that the scepter is already with Yeshua? The Shiloh of Yeshua is already with him?
Yeah.
We know that, but this is
Remember-
coming through.
Yeah, when he starts to come, remember it talks about in Psalm 2 that he's gonna come and he's gonna reign, right? The scepter will never pass. But also at the same time, when you look at Daniel chapter 7, when he talks about him coming again, so he saw someone in the clouds, someone like the Son of Man coming. You guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah, we kind of went like left field here. Go quickly to Daniel 7 and then we'll finish off with this. Why not? In Joshua, let's talk about Daniel. It's not like they're not linked. I want you to focus on verse 13 in my Bible. Daniel 7:13. Yeah. This is very interesting because when Messiah refers to himself as the Son of Man, Ben Adam, he's not just saying it because it was a popular name or some little thing. It was actually a messianic claim. Okay? Are you guys all there?
Yes.
Okay, Daniel 7, verse 13. I kept watching the night visions when I saw coming with the clouds of heaven someone like the Son of Man. He approached the Ancient One and he was led into his presence. To him was given rulership, glory, and a kingdom, so that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His rulership is an eternal rulership, and that will not pass away. And his kingdom is one. What is a nice Hebrew word that should be setting off sparks all over your brain for one? Echad. And if we're talking about Echad, what are we talking about?
Unity.
We're talking about Father.
In
Right.
King James says that, and his kingdom, the one which shall not be restored.
Well, it says the one because again, but remember the Hebrew is very elusive. It talks about there's possessor and it's talking about when things are alluding to things. What I'm alluding to is the remnants that links for Echad to Shema Israel Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. The kingdom of heaven is one. Right? There is no change. He says he is in him, and like I spoke to you guys about before, the breath and the word both emanate from the Father, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Ruach, the Holy Spirit, and the Word. They're not higher than the Father, but they belong to the Father. You cannot separate them as much as I can separate your word and your breath from you. And it's that sort of echad, that unity that ties everything together. That's just one aspect of how we can sort of understand a triangle. You cannot understand it in its fullness. If you do, you've made it too small. That's why he's Al Elyon. Okay? He's God Most High. It's too complex for us to understand with our little brains, and I'm okay with that. All right? So, he goes up, the kingdom is one that will never be destroyed. And what do we see in Revelations? At the end of the book of Revelations, don't we see him coming down with the clouds? And what is he going to come do? He's come to rule. He's come to judge. There's an interesting little play when you have a little discussion. You see it in the New Testament that he alludes to that passage in Daniel. There was a certain high priest who had a discussion with Yeshua. Can you remember what he said?
Yeah, Abraham.
High priest.
Oh, Nicodemus.
High priest.
Oh, sorry. Caiaphas.
Right? And he's sitting before him and he says what to him?
It was
You have Caiaphas and you have Moses. Right? And he has a discussion with him. Oh, Google, please. Find the passage where he has a discussion. Come on. You've got 2 more minutes of me terrorizing you. There it is. Find that passage. Talks about the fallen thing that they were the prophets as well.
Ja, Engels.
Isn't it that I was unable to destroy the temple and flee in?
No, he's having a discussion with him just before he's about to crucify him. Remember, he goes back in between. He gets sent to Pontius Pilate, and he gets sent to Herod, and then he gets sent to Caiaphas, and all having their little excitement.
Isn't this part where it says, I put you under the oath of God and the living God, tell us if you are the Christ, the Son of God. You said to him, it is as you said, nevertheless I say to you, hereafter you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the power and coming on the clouds of heaven. That's Matthew 26, verse 64.
Go to Matthew 26. Did you guys all hear him?
No.
Try it again.
Matthew 26? No, okay.
He said, my kingdom is not of this world.
No.
That's it.
Go to Matthew 26 and I'll read from verse 59. They had coffin him in the whole Sanhedrin, looked for some false evidence against Yeshua so that he might be put to death. But they didn't find any, even through many liars have come forward to give testimony. At last, however, 2 people came forward and they said, the man said, I can tear down God's temple and rebuild again in 3 days. And the Kohen stood up and said to him, have you nothing to say of this accusation these men are making? Yeshua remained silent. The Kohen said to him, I put you under oath by the living God. Tell us if you're the Mashiach, the Son of God. Now there's a bit of a Roman play there as well, guys, without us realizing. Who is the Son of God in the Roman world? Caesar. Even more pertinently at this time, Tiberius. Why is that a bad move to say I'm the Son of God there?
Because he's challenging the Roman
The
state.
legions were the...
He's challenging Caesar himself.
Tiberius, not too long before this, had a near coup. Sejanus, who was a trusted advisor to him, became his right-hand man, and then decided that while Tiberius was busy playing emperor and doing whatever twisted emperors do, I'm not going to go there, Sejanus started to plot to take the kingdom. He found out, he had Sejanus killed. Tiberius sends out an order, if there's any insurrection, even a sniff of it, put it down. Tiberius was who? Family tree was. He was the adopted son of which Caesar? Augustus. Remember, divinity was claimed through Caesar. So who's the son of God? Tiberius. Okay? So there's a Roman play here that we can use this against him. Are you the great Caesar Tiberius? Is one way you can look at the script. But he's lacing it as a backdrop to use it to get him killed by the Romans. Because Tiberius sent out a decree. Okay?
Actually, Caiaphas was the one who said that if we make trouble, then the Romans are going to come and they'll take away the temple, they'll take away our nation.
Yeah, but who has the right and authority to kill anybody in a Roman empire? Do you as a Jew have any right to kill anybody? No. So we're going to have to make it pertinent to the Romans to get our duty job. Right? So he's very, very crafty in the way he does. You should say to him, the words are your own. That's a nice way of saying you have no idea what you just said. But I tell you that one day you will see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of the power and coming on the clouds of heaven. It says you're sitting here before me and you have authority that was given to you. But one day you're going to be sitting before me where I will be in my full power and authority. Yeah, all of a sudden, the little verse that we overread, Yeshua is saying, the roles are going to be reversed. But remember what you say here this day. It is a powerful statement in a very meek way. And that time of him establishing those things will come at the end, where the nations and everybody will bow. When they see him coming, Zechariah also talks about it, they will mourn, they'll cry because they will see him whom they have pierced. You know what's interesting about that thing? While we're there, between whom and pierced is a floating Aleph Tav. Two Hebrew letters that I'm not translating. Remember we said it in Genesis 1:1?
Yeah.
In the beginning, God created Aleph Tav, not translated. The heavens and the earth? Yeah, it was supposed to, but the grammatical thing, you remember it means I'm pointing to something specific.
Is it the direct object pointed to, not just to anything,
Yes.
to the divine?
Well, not always. They use it as well as grammatically pointing to when you talk to a specific thing or a specific
That's in what we
specific. They got that from the biblical. But because of the Genesis 1 thing, that section in the middle there, they don't know why it's there. It is a conundrum to them. And when he says, I am the Aleph Tav, he's alluding to Genesis 1:1, but there's the second layer who's sitting here in Zechariah 14, if I remember correctly. You will look to who? The Aleph Tav. That's it. So in between, it's already identifying. Why is that important? They pierced a lot of people. In Zechariah's time, were they piercing anybody? No, stoning was the Torah. So he was already prophesying about a crucifixion that he had no idea that people were going to be doing. Okay? So you have these illusions again on that point. My point simply being this. When he comes, he already has the authority. It's already given to him by God. He's already gone up and he sat at the right hand of the power. When he stands up and he's going to start to redeem everything and he comes back down on the clouds, everybody else is going to get the wake-up call that the power has already been transferred.
So standing before Caiaphas, he was the lion speaking as a lamb.
Yes. He's saying there's going to come a point where you are going to be standing before me and we're going to have this discussion again. You get it? Right. So lots of homework for next week. Look at the words. Try and break it up. You're going to go back and forth. There's a couple of difficult ones there. For those of you who feel a little bit more confident, you might find one or two. I don't mind if you break it up into the paleo to get a grip on it. If you don't like the specific translation, like I said, that's only for the one or two of you that are into it. Okay? But also ask the question, what happened there? You'll see there's a few interesting little stories that backdrop will give us part of this Levitical statement. Okay? You with me? Yes. All right. Prayer time is every time. All right. Wherever you are, just think up. This is this.
before you in the mighty name of Yeshua, and we thank you that we can still freely gather in your name. Father, I thank you for your word, and I pray, Father, that you would plant that word deep in our hearts. Father, that word is food for us to grow, Father, in strength and in knowledge, Father, so that we can be equipped to do your work. And there is a great work to be done, Father. And Father, I just pray that you would go with each one of us, that we would truly meditate on your word this week, that we would search the scriptures. And Father, for those that are struggling, help them through the power of your Holy Spirit. Open up their spiritual eyes and their ears to understand what the Spirit is saying. We ask this, Father God, in the mighty name of Yeshua. Amen.
Amen. Just where you are, just hang on. Our Father, we just lift up those who are not here. Father, for Auntie Sharon, who's busy struggling with Father because of health, Father, and anybody else, Lord. Whatever the issue is, Lord, Father, I pray that you meet them at their need. Father, continue to unite us, bring us closer to you, and we just thank you for the miraculous healing. We also pray for Regan, and we just be able to lift them up, Lord Father, for your glory. In Yeshua's name we pray. Amen. Amen.